Hi, I'm back today because I want to talk to you a little bit about Shakespeare. It's important, I think, that you introduce your children to Shakespeare while they're very young and you talk about him all through your homeschooling experience because he is so fun. So, how do you do that when they're little? You introduce them through the Shakespeare stories that are retold, like picture books that you can get from the library, or maybe books that you would read aloud. Charles and Mary Lamb wrote one that's called Lamb's Tales from Shakespeare, and there's a couple others out there. I'll put them in the notes. But one way that I have done it with my girls is to use these books written by Lois Burdett, and they are so fun. And I just want to tell you how I've done it, how I use it. So we would choose a book, and in the front, I would just say, okay, let's start out, and I'm going to read to you, maybe just this much. And I would read, okay, let's go. There's three witches that are meeting, and they're having a meeting, and they're talking like this. When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? When the hurly-burly's done? When the battle's lost and won? It's a matter of life and death, and there we shall meet Macbeth. So now that you've talked about it, you say, oh, look at this picture. That was drawn by someone that's 10 years old. Do you think you could do that? Oh, of course they can. And so here they do. They go grab their markers and they draw this picture. And it's ever as beautiful as the one in the book. And they just feel so proud of it. And then I say, hey, let's write about the experience. Let's describe those witches. And they say, oh, okay. There were witches. And you say, you don't want to just start by saying there were witches. How were they there? And so they say, oh, suddenly out of nowhere rose three witches. Witches. What else could we call them? Hags. Let's call them hags. Oh, yeah, let's call them ugly hags. Oh, good idea. Suddenly out of nowhere rose three ugly hags. They were dirty. And then you say, okay, well, how dirty were they? Oh, they were so dirty. Let's compare them to something. What's dirty? Oh, well, look like they took a bath in the swamp. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Now, let's talk about what they look like. What's their hair look like? Oh, it was all messy. Messy. Let's get a little bit more descriptive. How messy? Well, looked like they blew it with a hairdryer. Okay, your hair does get messy when you just blow it. How about this? Oh, they blew the hair with a hurricane. Oh, that's fabulous. Okay, let's talk about their face. What does their face look like? What's their nose look like? Oh, their nose was hideous and long. Okay, let's use a different word for long. What could we say? It was of great length. So what you're doing is you're walking them through this. When they're writing, you're writing it with them. You're saying, let's use a different word. How else can we say that? And let's compare it to something. And so their hands, what were they like? And give me some descriptive words. You are doing it with them. And so you're putting those words in their mind. You're saying, let's sound like Shakespeare. And these books kind of lend themselves to that kind of language. And so they're writing all these descriptive words. And my goodness, when they are done, they have this awesome description. And it's that, really, my little 7-year-old wrote that. Now, I just have to tell you that my husband teaches high school English, and he was teaching Macbeth in his high school classroom. And he came home, and my girl showed him what he had written. He said, I have to take that in. I have to show my high school students what my little 7 and 8-year-old daughters have done. And so he was just so proud of them, which of course made my girls even more excited about it. And so we then memorized just a short little section in here, and they acted it out. And oh my goodness, it just created this love of language, of description, of writing. They loved writing it, and they loved sharing it with their dad. And boy, when they were talking to Grandma and Grandpa and saying, hey, have you heard about Macbeth? Or did you know what happened to Hamlet? And they're talking, and there's like they're just the Shakespeare experts. It's like, oh, this is so fun. Well, I'll put these notes down there and tell you where you can maybe find these books. But I just encourage you to get out there and give it a try.